Welcome to the 22nd episode of the One Shot Effect podcast. Today's guest is Ben Caesar,
Oh yeah.
all the way in Dubai. I'm in South Africa, but Ben, what can you tell us about South Africa and have you been?
Yeah, I mean, funny story. I lived in South Africa for many, many years. And one of the guests that you had on your podcast, Sasha, is like one of my best friends, man. Like grew up with Sasha. In fact, he in his first studio I recorded was like my first professional studio session. So like, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went to his band performance the other day. It was really sick.
Okay,
It was
plastics.
they were all wearing white and there was a projector. It was very Beatles vibes.
Nice, man. Yeah, so I've spent a long time in South Africa, and been in the UAE, Dubai, for 2 years. But before that, we were in Abu Dhabi. So been out of South Africa for a few years already.
And where are you from?
Originally, I'm from the Caribbean, so born in the Caribbean, but lived in the UK, Amsterdam, St. Lucia, then South Africa, and then in between that, I traveled a lot. So kind of always kind of moved around,
Fair.
honestly. Yeah.
What was it like growing up in the Caribbean? And what age were you there till?
Man, we left the island when I was 4. And
Damn.
then we went to St. Lucia, another island, and then we went to the UK. And the thing is, like, the UK, we went from the Caribbean to Brixton, which there's a huge Caribbean community in Brixton, at least at the time. I know Brixton's changed quite a lot, but it was just two entirely different worlds, man. Brixton
Mm.
at that time was rough, and yeah, just adapting to the climate, the cold climate. I was a young boy from the Caribbean. No one could understand what I was saying. My accent was so thick. So I think it's kind of just been the story of my life, just having to adapt to different extremes. Yeah.
Standing out, maybe.
Uh, yeah, I think in a lot of rooms, I've always been like the odd one out, or like the what's your story? You know what I mean? It's kind of been the story
Mm.
of my life. Yeah.
And has there always been a desire to be in the public eye and be on stage and
Yeah, look, I think the public eye is a big word, right? It's a big phrase. It means a lot of things. So like it wasn't about being in the public eye or being,
seen?
yeah, or like none of that allure ever appealed to me, but I just loved performing. It was always a thing.
Mm.
I was a kid who was performing for my mom and her friends. I put on little shows and just dance, and I'd always be in the talent shows and things like that. So the stage was always just, I was always more comfortable on stage than off stage, even to this day.
Mm.
You know?
Fair. What was your first experiences of getting on stage?
Ah, snap. Honestly, performing for like my mother and her friends, because I was raised by my
Oh.
mother, right? And so
Mm.
we travel around, and we'd be in different friend groups or friends she had in different countries, and I'd always just put on some kind of show, but I think like school talent shows was the first time, you know, that you get that real feedback from people, and people like clapping and screaming and stuff. That's, yeah. There's no turning back from that, bro.
And now, how would you describe the sound that you're putting out there?
Oh, good question. Look, I think like I was raised in a hip hop community, right? Because
Mm.
I didn't have an identity, like really. I
Mm.
was taken, uprooted from my birthplace, young, moved to a different place, had to adapt, moved again, had to adapt again. before the age of like 12, I'd had to adapt so many times. I lost like so many, I'm always jealous when people talk about their, not jealous, but always hyper aware when people say like, oh,
Mm,
we were friends since we were like 3 years old. You know, I don't have those
mm,
kind of stories. So like, I needed a community, and hip hop was that thing that I could find an identity with. So I've always felt that I owe a debt. I think when you come from a culture, or you feel like a culture adopts you, you feel indebted in some way. So I always want to push culture forward, right? That's what I feel is a responsibility of an artist. That's the artist that I respect. So
mm.
in terms of the sound, I would like to experiment with what's happening in the Middle East. Like the Middle East has a rich history of music, just as Africa does, right? And it's totally different. Like the music system is entirely different to Western music, and like we've all been so like dominated and brought up with Western perspectives of music and musical systems. But there's so much more. So I'm really like obsessed with that, the rhythms, the sounds, the instruments. So that's my vibe right now, bro.
Any specific artists that come to mind that like maybe inspire you? I suppose that changes, and there's so many.
Yeah. Oh man. That's. Let me get back to you on that because I'll need to get remember names. Yeah.
How did it come about that you shot a music video in South Africa?
I was doing a lot of stuff in SA. Kind of started my music career there. So I had like I was doing a lot of gigs. I was performing a lot. I shot a few music videos. Um, Recorded like my first albums in Cape Town. Are you in Cape Town?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool, man. Yeah. So I recorded a lot. I did a lot of work in South Africa. So I was doing a lot of music videos, a lot of shows. Um, which music video? You're probably talking about Big Trucks, the one I did with Sasha, or which one?
I'm talking about Sunday Times,
Oh, Sunday Times. Yeah.
which is also like I was actually wondering because we have a newspaper called Sunday Times. I wonder if it was
Yeah,
a reference to
that's why I
that.
called the song. Yeah, that's why I called the song Sunday
Cool.
Times. And it was
Most people
because
probably
that
don't
was
catch that reference, bro.
yeah, that was a good look, bro. That was a good look. So the thing is that that's literally what we did. Like summertime, Cape Town, that time, that's exact we get the snacks,
Capture
we
the
go to
vibe, capture the feeling.
yeah, like it was a document of what we actually and all the people that were in the video, people that we like hang out with, we just go to Clifton Park and just chill for the whole day, bro.
Beautiful. And I say
Yeah.
capture, but it's actually more like creating the vibe and like curating the vibe.
Yeah,
And
I
like
think
I think
that's
that's kind of how
cool.
you have to do it. Like you're creating this good vibe that like sure then you're capturing into a song or like a music video. And that was even
Yeah.
a good question. Like how do you see music videos and like how important is music videos in music?
That's such a good question because like nowadays it's changed, right? We went from like
Mm,
a monoculture to this diverse culture where there's so many niches that you might not even be aware of, right? Um,
mm,
so I think music videos still that function of a music video can I don't know in your experience as well, like can make a song better or
mm.
or even worse, right? If the video is like whack, it just takes away from the thing. Um,
Facts.
and I felt like that video really just brought us in. That video kind of invites you to join the party. I don't know. Do you think music videos are still like effective? What do you think?
100%. I
Yeah,
think YouTube is just huge in general for like
yeah,
anyone and then like
yeah,
YouTube and like music videos. And now we have
yeah.
like short form video, which is interesting. I guess like taking clips from music videos, or maybe that's even a newer thing is like short music videos, which is like a TikTok
Mm.
is the new music video, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are instead of like blowing a budget on a huge video, they're just creating smaller, shorter videos. Um,
Yeah.
so the landscape's changed in that way. But I think like music videos are still very important because an artist presents the sound, but also the image, the visual of it as part of the experience, right?
Mm.
And then their politics as well. You can communicate all those things in a music video as well.
How intentional have you been with like music videos and like music just in general over the journey? I mean, yeah, you how long have you been like posting music? I mean, even this music video is from 2013.
Yeah, bro. I've been, like I said, my whole life has been in music. Um, but in different degree, like in different places, because people think music is like, oh, you're on TV or on radio, but there's so much more to it. Like some bands spend their life on tour, but they'll never be on radio. But they have an audience and they're able to, have a career that way. Um, some are music composers. So for me, I don't know if you know Madame Zingara. It was
Not
like
sure.
yeah, it's dinner cirque. It's very similar to Cirque du Soleil, and it's we toured like Durban, Joburg, Cape Town. It was like a show we did 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. We're performing with performers from all around the world. It was incredible, you know. And that I was on that show for 3 years, so that took me
Wow.
entirely out of like the music and hip hop scene. But I was growing artistically in an entirely different way, you know. Um,
How did that come about? And like what was that like?
It was insane, bro. Like, the show director saw me perform. She came to one of my performances and was like, "I want you in the show." And look, I come from like rap battles, b-boy battles. I know a lot of graffiti artists, DJs. I come from the hip hop culture, and this
Did
was.
that feel quite solo in a way?
What do you mean solo?
Like rap battles like versus like being in a big group with the like the show?
Yeah, yeah. I think hip hop is incredible. It teaches you, to like back yourself. It teaches you to it gives you confidence, but it can be kind of, I don't want to say toxic, but it can hold you back in certain
Mm.
rooms, right? Like you said, like you're fending, you're so used to fending for yourself, and you're so used to like the battle culture of it that when you walk into other rooms, it's just like everyone's like, relax, what are you doing? Uh, so yeah, it was. Madame Zangara is a lot more theatrical. It's a lot more like you had acrobats, you had contortionists, you had singers, you had a whole different world, right? And it was at a like really high level. So yeah, totally different to the hip hop world.
So did those 3 years go by quite quick?
It was no, it was hard work, bro. Like we're putting on 2 shows a day, 6 days a week, and then sometimes 7 days. So like in terms of being on road, in terms of learning stagecraft, how to perform, how stamina, like I couldn't pay for that kind of education. Nowhere.
Mm.
Nowhere.
And that was
Right?
all in South Africa?
Yeah. But we did like
Damn.
Durban for like 6 months, Joburg for like 6 months, Cape Town. And it was packed
Wow.
like every night. Yeah, it's
Wow.
wildly successful show.
Do you think like does that show still exist today?
No,
Do you think
no.
it
There
could?
was Yeah, I think it could come back for sure. I think it was just some internal things. I don't really know, you know.
Fair.
Um, but it hasn't come back
Wow.
since then.
So it's like
Yeah.
if you didn't do that show, then like the person might have not seen you. And like how much do you see that? Like one small thing leads to the next.
Man, networking is the biggest like unlock, right? I think in any field almost.
Hmm.
Even in like solo things like trading, right? Like you need to be around other people who are better than you. You need to be around. But in like music, forget it. You need to. the most of the work that I've gotten is from the hands that I shake, you know, not from like
Mm,
the emails and stuff. It's the hands that I shake. So being outside, as we say, is the most important thing. So yeah, you never know what's gonna come from meeting somebody. You never know, man.
true.
Mm.
And you've also dabbled in NFTs. What's been your journey with that?
Look, I've always been interested in technology, right, and the
Mm.
intersection of music and technology. The whole Web3 NFT space. I mean, do you know like about it? Have
Quite
you?
a bit. I've heard of
Okay.
like V Friends and like
Oh
my one
wow. Okay.
friend made good money of flipping an NFT,
Okay.
but yeah,
Cool.
not too much.
Yeah. No, I mean, you own an NFT, man. That's a lot more than a lot of people, you know. So I kind of stumbled into it. Honestly, I performed at a blockchain conference in Abu Dhabi, and
Nice.
one of the people who were putting the stage together. Well, you talk about like unexpected coincidences. I performed in Saudi, and the person who booked me for that, she recommended me for the blockchain conference, and the guys who were putting on the blockchain conference doing like NFTs and Web3, and they were kind of bringing it to the region here, right? They had the biggest community here, massive community. So I was very fortunate, you know, they were like, okay, cool. I'd read about NFTs. I read about like what Blau was doing with Royal.io and like music and NFTs and royalty sharing. And I was like, huh, this is fascinating. So I was already kind of interested, but I didn't have a point of contact, you know. So these guys were like, hey, yeah, cool. That they put me into the like WhatsApp community group, and that was literally everybody who was doing things out here in Web3. So I immediately was introduced to a room full of people who were like making it shake out here. So I was very fortunate, and then I wanted to introduce the music community to the opportunity because I saw a lot of use case for Web3 and NFTs and blockchain in the music business and for artists. And like I just started speaking about it more and more. I got invited to speak, at like Berkeley, at Middle Beast, at some really prestigious institutions. So it wasn't that I was selling NFTs. Like we put an NFT for sale because we wanted to know what it was, what the infrastructure, what the process was like. But it wasn't like Tiga's an NFT project. That's not it at all. Tiga is like its own world.
But I think it just yeah, like I feel like you're just so ready to like try things, and I think that's like definitely helped you in your life. Is like not being
Yeah.
afraid to dabble.
No, I think like, bro, I think honestly, artists are at a very pivotal point where we have to negotiate technology. I think everybody has to negotiate technology in some capacity, right? But artists especially because now with like AI, you know, they're are they taking from your work to train their data sets? How are you going to navigate that? What are the opportunities in blockchain for you? Like I think artists have to be at the table when technology is being developed because
Mm.
I saw so many artists who are like, "Oh no, I don't do NFTs. NFTs are a scam." And I'm like, the technology is the technology. How you use it is, going to determine it. So, yeah, I think it's an important time.
100%. And what's
Yeah.
been your journey with mentors? I mean, you talk a lot about networking. Like, what's been your journey with maybe mentorship and mentors and mentoring?
That's a great question, man. I think like I was thinking about it recently, and I unfortunately a lot of things that I know I taught myself because we were moving around a lot, so I wasn't able to build like foundation, right? And I was by myself. It was me and my mother most of the time, so I was by myself a lot. So like authority, I had a difficult time in school because authority, like a lot of things I taught myself, like how to draw, how to dance, creative things that I was doing. So I always kind of felt authority, and like educational institutions were kind of, it was always weird for me. And then mentors weren't things that were on my radar to even seek for. So I didn't have mentors, you know? And looking at it now, I
I
think it's
mean,
like
maybe you seek them in music, you know?
definitely, but even at that, even like when we were really gigging and stuff, like we didn't have anybody who knew better around us. We didn't. And we didn't even know to seek for it, right? I do think it's really important. Um, but I unfortunately never had like, you know, the mentor was like, this is how it's done, you know?
I
Yeah.
suppose there's seasons and there's like different ways that we get mentors. I think even now in like the modern day, it's almost like the Instagram accounts you follow. Those are like your mentors, like or can be
Yeah.
like what you're feeding
Yeah.
your eyes, right?
No, 100%. And like, I think I'm being a bit bleak in that respect. Yes, there's certain people who've given a lot of guidance, you know, spiritually and like in terms of career, but it was never like, I want you to be my mentor. Yes, I'll be your mentor. You know, I think there's degrees of mentorship, and I never had like that degree of mentorship. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't have that, and it's like definitely something like missing. Like even like eldership, often feel like the elderly like feel quite cast away. It's like the whole retirement
Mm,
village thing. It's like I feel like the elderly should be like merging with the younger people more. It just like makes sense. I
100%.
feel like.
I totally agree. And I think in hip hop especially, like there's such a big divide, and it's costing like we can see that hip hop hasn't innovated really in a while. And I think you're right. Like have you had mentorship, or do you feel like you've
Yeah, I think more like through like like music artists that I've listened to a lot, or like yeah, like distant mentors like that, which sometimes have like come like they became more physical over time, which has been cool. Like even just like meeting my favorite artists, or um, but yeah, it's hard to think of, but like you say,
yeah.
but yeah, I think there is a journey of self as well, you know,
Yeah.
and there's definitely seasons for both.
Yeah.
And would you ever like want to mentor people as well? Or I mean, I think
Yeah,
we lead
I've
by example is one of the best ways as well.
100%. I think like that's a responsibility, right? I think some people have reached out. I do get a lot of messages from artists, and they're like, "Yo, can you?" Some have asked me straightforward, "Can you be my mentor?" And it's always weird for me because I feel like I haven't achieved the heights I want to get to, so I don't feel like I'm in any place. Um, but if someone asks, like I have to honor that they see something, right?
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I think yeah, people that ask for mentorship, I give them a hard time because yeah, I think like
Well, that's what will grow you, right?
exactly, exactly.
And how did you end up in Dubai?
So my wife and I, she auditioned. There was an audition. So we were in Joburg at the time. There was audition for performers at Warner Brothers World, which is they were building this massive theme park in Abu Dhabi, $1 billion theme park called Warner Brothers World in Abu Dhabi, and they were looking for performers. And again, this is entirely out of the music industry and music business that I even knew of. There's a whole other category inside of, entertainment, theme parks. So she auditioned. She was like, "Hey, do you want to go for the audition?" I was like, "I'll join you, support." And she was like, "Okay, cool." So we did. We got there. She signed up for the audition, and then they were like, "Oh, are you here for the audition as well?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So like we both auditioned and we both actually got it, which was pretty crazy for both of us to get accepted because a lot of people did not get accepted. Then we, through the long process, we finally get to Abu Dhabi, and we are in rehearsals and everything, and then she tells them, "Hey, Ben can write music. Ben can rap. Ben can do these things." I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Can you write a rap song for Gotham City? It's one of the lands in Warner Brothers. So I said, yeah, sure. Eventually, it got approved because the people from LA had to come down before the park opened, and they had to prove everything. Can be a very long and like painful process. So we were pitching, we were trying to get this rap song through to them last minute, and they approved it on the spot. So it was greenlit, and I basically ended up performing my own song in this theme park. And from that point, yeah, it's totally insane, bro. And from that point, I just developed as the music producer and music director for the shows. So any show that would happen, I was doing all the music, sound effects, show cues, recording, everything. So it was really incredible. Like I spent one day as the person that I was signed up to be. And for the rest of the time, I was producing music for the shows. So I think like my life has always been just taking me out of in different places, right?
But you gotta tell
Musically.
people your skills.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they
man, you
won't
gotta tell
know.
your
You
people
gotta
your
show
skills.
them. But even more, like, it was your wife who told them, right?
Exactly.
And it's so
Yeah.
much easier for us to, like, sell other people. But, like, sometimes to sell ourselves can be difficult.
The hardest thing. So true. It's so true. Yeah.
What's been your journey in, like, being married and, like, I mean, even just, like, yeah, even in that example, it's like having someone who's, like, helping you like that, like teammates kind of thing, or
Yeah, man. Look, I was never given like aspirations of marriage, right? Uh, Raised by my mother, didn't have examples of healthy marriages. Um, so I wasn't out looking for a life partner, and like being in the space I was in for a lot of my career. It was like clubbing, it was gigging, it was nightlife, it was pool parties, yard party. You know what I mean? It's the whole thing. So marriage was not even appealing for me. But yeah, it's been the biggest blessing because you have like a partner. You have a life partner that is going to root for you and you can support as well. So I never thought that I'd be married and positive about marriage, but life is crazy, bro. you know.
how did you guys meet? Maybe even through dancing? How'd you
Yeah,
guys?
she was. We were both working at Coco nightclub, and for 2 years, I would be hosting or performing, and she'd be dancing. We'd see each other, never spoke. We just kept it very professional, very cordial. And then one night on Christmas, I was hosting a party, and she came up the stairs, and that was the first time we spoke. And we spoke for like 2 hours. Had a great time, and I was like, "Wow, this girl's really cool." And she said, "Look, let's make a bet right now. We'll date for a month, and if we don't like it, we don't like the vibes or anything like that, we'll delete each other's number and never speak again." So I was like, "Yeah, let's try it. Low risk. It was enough, I managed that I could manage." So I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And we never looked back, honestly.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
And like, yeah, what has even been the journey of like merging your worlds? I mean, it sounds like that opportunity like did that so well for you, like the Warner
Mm.
Bros thing.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, you know, we were in Joburg at the time, and I was starting to kind of make moves in Joburg. I was meeting a lot of people. I was doing a lot of like studio sessions. I was starting to get more and more gigs. And Cape Town is one thing, but Joburg is a whole other thing, right? If you can make traction in Joburg as well, you've got a good footprint in South Africa. So when we had to leave, it was a big decision. It was because I knew I would be leaving behind like a lot of things that I built, you know, in Cape Town and Joburg, network, people, everything. So that was a decision I made for her. It was like, okay, you want to do this, I'm going to support you in this. And then I was very fortunate to be able to develop my own kind of place in it, you know, and still be able to do music in at Warner Brothers, you know, in their theme parks. But tell me about tell me about your podcast. Tell me about like what you're doing. I'm also interested.
Yeah. I've had the podcast a while now. It's been an interesting journey. I mean, yeah, now I'm like 22 episodes in. I was working
New
with a
York.
newspaper a little bit as well. When I was working with the newspaper, that was when like pre-approved questions. I just started to like, kind of feel a bit scripted and stuff. So I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's kind of nice to have my own thing and kind of like
yeah,
just kind of like see and like explore conversation and like listening and like you get better every time, you know, and you
yeah,
make mistakes, and it's just
yeah,
like, and I feel like I've understood social media. Like I feel like you also do, like, and just understand the importance
yeah,
and like the opportunities.
yeah.
But I feel like not a lot of people, or not everyone does, and it's like. Sure, maybe
Uh,
not everyone like is gonna post every day to Instagram, but like everybody has an hour in them. You know, everybody has a story, and it's just
yeah.
so cool to like give that platform. And it's like, yeah, I
Cool.
don't know. It's just like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, man. Nah,
It's fun
legend.
to talk to people, and I'm also like so mindful of like, are we creating like hassles for ourselves? Are we like, yeah, what are we doing? Like the things that we
Mm.
do they involve things that we want to do? Does that make sense? Sometimes it's like a
Mm.
bit of effort to like edit the videos, the thumbnails, da da
Yep.
da. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, all part of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's
And
great,
then
man. I think, you know, stories are like foundational civilization to our humanity, right? And if you're able to tell people stories and provide a platform, I think that's really powerful.
And there's something just like when it's a podcast, like
Yeah.
sometimes we share like with the more like we're here, we're
Yeah.
showing up, you know? It's
Yeah.
almost like why do we not have these hour-long intentional conversations with our friends more often, you know? But it's like the world's
Good
busy and it's
question.
like but it's almost like
Yeah.
these things need to be scheduled, you know? But
Yeah,
it's
dude. 100%. Even us, like, we've been trying to do this. You sent me the Calendly, and I literally wasn't able, you know, like in my mind, I was
yeah,
like, I don't know when I'll be able to. So,
I
like,
don't
this today was a good day.
and I'm just like, no rush. Like if it happens, it
Yeah.
happens. And that's also
Yeah.
been a lesson for me is like just putting it out there, like inviting people. If they come,
Yeah.
cool. If they don't, cool. And it's like I have my whole life. Like I don't have to do 100 episodes in a week. I can do
Right.
like more episodes here. And that's also the luxury of like not being like it's eh, like once it's like professional, then it's like
Yeah.
deadlines and like
Locked
in
in.
enjoying the flexibility. I mean, even maybe like with your music releasing, it's like oh yeah, what's even been the journey with that? Like, have you ever like signed? Have you been independent and like
Yeah. I
deadlines
think
and yeah,
I've spoken to like labels and publishers, and, you know, there's been moments in time, but I've always felt like the way the music industry and the business was going, it's better to have leverage, you know, like especially now we have all the tools that we need to build an audience and have direct contact with our audience and build that infrastructure. So that's what labels want, right? And when you have that, then you can negotiate a better deal. So I wanted to get that infrastructure in place before I negotiate and talk to labels. And that's the longer way around. That's the, you know, the harder way around. But I'd rather be in a room where I've got more collateral, more leverage, because these guys they're not your friends, man. They're not here because they believe in you or they like you. Maybe they do, but like, you know, they're they're there for business. You know.
what's
Yeah.
been your journey of like growing a brand as a musician and even just using social media as an artist and like the like content creator or artist, you know?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, that line is it's blurry. Look, I think like in any era, artists have had to negotiate and navigate, like even if we look at classical composers back in the day, right? They had they had patrons, or they had wealthy members of society who would pay for them to compose music for them, right? Or the church would pay them, or the Pope, or some aristocrat, right? So that's yes, they were patronized. They had people who could pay for their living wages, and they could probably live a good life, but they were compromised. Like if this person wanted a specific song, you had to make that song. It might not even be your kind of vibe. You might want to like do some metals, kind of vibe, but you got to make this, love song. So like that, I think through every era, because now we have a lot of flexibility. We can upload our own music. We don't have to go through a label, but that gives us a lot more responsibility. We have to build our own audience, and social media is a tool, right? I think like actually, what do you think, bro? Because that line. What makes an artist, and a content creator a content creator? Where for you is the line?
Yeah. Um. I mean, I don't know. That's probably like you say a blurry line,
Yeah.
but I think it's definitely like finding like what can you do consistently. Like one of the worst things that can happen is like being successful by doing something you don't enjoy, or like the
Yo,
only content that does well is like something you don't even want to do, or something that's just like not
yes,
you.
yeah,
And I mean, that's even kind of the thing. It's like, what are we creating? Are we creating like what we want, or are we like trying to people please an audience? Or
yeah. I think
I
you're
mean,
right. Like,
even
go
with
ahead.
you like making that song for Warner Bros, like I'd be even curious like what that process was like. But I think yeah, it's like an attitude thing. It's like you can be like, I'm gonna bring my best to this project and like bring it, give it my touch, even if it's like parameters and like, but we also need some parameters like
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I really love that kind of work, like working with brands and different types of intellectual property and creating theme songs, because it's like I get to contribute and I get to build and I get to solve a puzzle, right? And it's a kind of relief, because if you're so used to like having to push this boulder uphill, when someone's already pushed the boulder uphill, you just have to, you don't have to figure everything out. Like if I'm creating my own work, I have to do so much more. But if someone already has all the properties there, I can just add to it. I don't have to build it from the ground up. So it's a different challenge, and it takes a lot of like there's not as much pressure in that way. If that makes sense.
yeah. But I mean, you have definitely seen like social media evolve. I mean, you've been posting to YouTube for a while. I mean, so have I.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, music videos is definitely good. But now we got like the short form video world. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, artists fight it. Like a lot of the conversation in artists is like, oh, why do I have to post online, and like why do I have to do TikToks? And they don't enjoy the idea of content. I don't think content is the enemy. I think like as an artist, if you're world building, the more touch points you have, the better. The more you can express your ideas, you know? Like how does it look? How does it feel? The more immersive you can make it. So I think social media and content is an opportunity a lot of the time. It's a lot of work.
Hmm.
It is not pretty. It's a hard work, right? But I
A good
think,
example that comes to
yep.
mind for me is this. There's this rapper called Logic, right? And he
Oh
has a
yeah, no logic.
Discord community, like where he gets to interact with his fans on like a
Yeah,
more like personal like level. Because I think that's even a good point right there. It's like just because someone like follows you on Instagram doesn't mean they're like your real fans. Like your real fans are the people that are at the shows, right? And like the real like building a fan base is like done in person, like you said, handshake to handshake. Like
Yeah,
that's what matters. Whereas like social media can be so like hate, love, like so
dude.
like
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, you meet some reality TV stars, right? Who blow up super quickly, have a massive following, but then when the show's over, they might lose half of that following. You know what I mean? And it's like, what does a following even mean at that point, especially on
oh,
social media
exactly. It's like people followed for that one thing. It's kind of like
for
this
that
one
one thing?
trick pony. And like
Yeah.
I've kind of actually experienced some of that myself. Like one of my most like viral Instagram videos was like a weight loss video. It was like a kind of like an edit of that. But it's like
Mm.
hyper edit, like oh, like here's the
Oh,
start, here's the end, like hero's journey kind of thing. But it's
yeah.
like I can't make that video all the time. A,
Yeah.
B, I don't want to. C, the kind of audience that is like, you know what I mean? Like this like hyper edited video. The question is, do you want that audience? Like, do you want the people that are only gonna follow you if you like make a crazy edit, da da da? It's almost
Yeah.
like just be yourself and like make the content that you can make consistently,
Yeah.
even if it will get less views. It's gonna like build that audience and like
You
actually
build.
like that's what someone's like. Yeah, short videos is great, like as a trailer to like get people in, but it's like even the longer music videos that like get people into the world, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, these
Yeah.
people have spent like 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes like with me, sure, like through music videos or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And there's definitely something to be said about that. It's like, what kind of audience do you want? Like being mindful of that, you
Exactly.
know?
That's the most important question. My mother always said, "You choose your audience." And like someone had a really good interview with Seth Godin, Erica, and she asked him like, um, she's been blown up on TikTok, right? And she's like, but she wants to give more value. She can do a lot more value on YouTube. She can explain the concepts a lot more. And like you said, the TikTok audience, boom, they're there for the videos are blowing up. She's getting viral moments consistently. On YouTube, she's not getting that performance, but it's a more committed audience on YouTube. They're gonna stay longer. They want the more. So who's more valuable? Which audience is more valuable? You know, and who you're gonna build for? I think it's a very important question. Yeah.
Yeah, now like the one thing that I feel like goes a step further than short form videos, like live streaming, because that's where you
Ooh.
don't know what could happen next. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
how like tapped in you are to live streaming. There's this one guy called Kai Sinat. He
Yeah, I
live
know
streamed
Kaizen,
like twenty four
Sidemen, all those
seven.
guys, man. Yeah. I
Crazy,
mean, the
bro.
thing
He
is, it's fascinating.
that's the new radio stations, right? Live streaming is the new
Literally.
radio.
Yeah. And all these guys are like, it really is. It's like, I think future generations, that's, if we look at social spaces, right? If we look at
Mm,
public spaces, like kids used to hang out at malls, club culture might be changing. People might end up spending a lot more time virtually at home with each other,
mm.
you know?
Yeah, we
And
need more
like
third spaces, like third
third
places. Like people
spaces,
go
dude.
home, people go to work, and there needs to like be more places that's like without the financial element. Like clubs has that financial element. Even at like coffee shops and stuff, like that kind
Mm,
of has this thing. I mean, now like kind of like even in South Africa, like we got like weed getting legalized and stuff. Like those kind of become more third places, and people are kind of looking for more things besides alcohol as well. Whereas that's kind of been like
yes.
the only one. But it's
Yeah.
like even in South Africa, like we have a huge like unemployment issue, but it's almost like
Yeah.
if you don't have a job, like where are you supposed to be going? And that's probably leading way more into the whole online thing, right? There's these
Yeah.
online places being created. I mean, even a great example is lo-fi study girl, like 24/7 study music on YouTube. Like those
Yeah.
kind of 24/7 things that people are gonna just like tap into, where there's like a
Yeah.
chat element, like people are talking to each other, even Discord, Reddit, and like there's
Mm.
something to be said. Like, yeah,
I
people are
think,
craving that community, right?
yeah. I think like, I think you made me realize something, that we're talking about content creators and artists, and like artists create a meeting point, right? If you're like an Eminem fan, there's so much to talk about. His new album, there's this first show you went to, and all of the influences that Eminem has, that's a touch point, that's a connection point, that's a meeting point for people. And I think content creators create the same kind of thing where, like Kaizenat or, Logic has a Discord. People are there because they like Discord, but they're there because they want community with other people who think like them and like think like them.
Yeah, even just music artists in general. Like even a concert that is like a community
Yeah,
meetup. That's like
literally.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, literally, man.
bro. It's really just
Definitely.
bringing people together and like community. Yeah, what's been your journey with community and like how important is that?
Bro, community is the biggest word for me, right? Especially in our online space, especially as an artist. I was, and before Web3, I didn't use the word community. I didn't understand it. I think like a lot of artists, we get such a bad education. It was like, you're supposed to be that guy. You're supposed to be that guy, that dude, right? You don't need anybody else. You know what I mean? It's terrible, terrible education. And Web3 is the total inverse. Web3 is like, no, you go on Twitter Spaces, you go on Discord, you chat to your community, you talk to people, you offer value, you open with value. How can I help? These are the most successful artists that I saw in the Web3 space. You know what I mean? Who are engaging with their people. And I was like, wow, community is the most important thing. It's the most important thing. For
And I
artists,
think it's just and I think it's just like getting involved. Like no one's gonna give you permission. You know what I mean?
and the thing is like celebrity culture and music culture is so often like confused, you know? Just as content creator and artist has been so confused, but they're different. They're different. Like celebrities and music artists, and I'm happy that celebrity culture is being torn down and that the facade is kind of breaking, right? Because yeah, artists should engage with their communities. This like platforming and superstardom shit, it's garbage, bro.
But yeah, there's something to be said. Like back in the day, you wouldn't know what Picasso ate for breakfast. Like there's
Yeah.
something to be said about less is more. Now
No,
it's
100%.
like it's so
But again,
accessible.
but again, an artist must work within the bounds that they're in, right? Like you don't have to be sharing your breakfast. You don't have to be spilling everything out there. Like Kendrick Lamar has lived, not lately, but a lot of his career, he hasn't been like a spectacle, and hasn't been. So the weekend is. Yo, sorry, you there? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
okay,
you had
go
a
on, go on.
call incoming or something.
Yeah, sorry, I
But
don't
it's
know.
all
Okay, cool.
too
Uh,
popular, bro.
nah. Um. So yeah, I think it's an interesting time. Do you think
What's
that?
like your boundaries with social media and like even just creating your world? How like what do you share? What don't you share?
Look, I think with Tiga, I've been like operating as a sort of personal brand. Ben Caesar has been the artist and also the brand, and I've seen the personal limits for me and type of person that I am with that. And that's why, I want to build Tiga and the world of Tiga where it isn't about me. You know what I mean? Um, so that's kind of a way for me artistically to still contribute, but in a way that I don't feel like I'm I don't have to be all of these things. I can just build the world that I want to.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the advantages of this modern world is like we can be masters, we can be experts. We don't have to be make our own food, make our own clothes.
Mm,
Like it allows
mm.
people to specialize. Someone can say I'm a musician, that's what I do.
That's a
Like
good point. Yeah.
but there's also
I
lots
mean,
of hats to wear.
yeah, that being said, I think if you want to be a musician, you have to know content, or you have to know how to community build. You have to know graphic design. You have to know video editing. So yeah, it's specializing, but you're asked of a lot more as well. That's a
Just
good
also
point.
like understanding your like gaps and your flaws, but also like exactly like understanding every component so that even if you were to like hire a video editor one day, like you
You
understand the
know
process, you understand how
exactly.
much it should cost, how it should look,
Yeah,
you know?
and that goes into AI as well. Like maybe you're not going to hire somebody. Maybe you're going to use AI. But if you don't know like some fundamentals, like first 3 seconds are the most important thing. You're gonna give the AI wrong
Mm.
commands anyway, or maybe the AI is gonna advise you on it, but it's still. What do you think of AI? Are you using it? Like, has it been?
Yeah, one of my like best use cases is like for like my podcast like titles and like the descriptions.
Yeah.
Like I'll plug like kind of like a summary of like the episodes, which is also like an AI summary. Like this, what I use to record the podcast is like Riverside. They've also got like some AI built in, which the
Okay.
AI kind of can be good at. Like can automatically like make clips,
Mm.
which is cool.
Yeah.
And then like helping with the descriptions and stuff. I have used like ChatGPT quite a bit. I experimented a bit with Midjourney.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's been your journey with AI, bro?
I've been back and forth with it. I mean, like honestly, in music production, AI has been around for a while. Like you've had songs that can help. I mean, plugins that can help mix. You know, chord generators, melody generators, rhythm generators for a while. But this generative AI, for me, I feel a lot of ways about it because it. I feel it took from the creative community without crediting, without remuneration, without respecting the rights. And like, I don't think that's a good way to start the conversation with technology, with a new technology, because like you need the creative community. I think like on a macro scale, I think technology is not in a good place, right? There aren't a lot of guardrails. There's not a lot of incentive. And I know a lot of people in tech, there's just not a lot of incentive to build things that people need. There's more incentive to build profitable things. So I think it doesn't lead to like great innovation or like shit that we actually need. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my frame when I look at technology now, and AI is a part of that.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, are we just like adding to like tech waste? Like that's
Yeah.
something I think about. It's like even the phones and computers we have today, like in 100 years, like
Yeah.
it's the next one, it's the next one, it's the next one.
Yeah.
But it's like it's all like almost it almost gets to the point where it's like it's a subscription model.
Mm.
It's like the World Economic Forum. I think they once said it's like you will own nothing and be happy. But it's like even like the phone that I own, like it's mine, but like in 10, 20 years, it's not gonna like be the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah. Yeah, it's right. It is a subscription, dude. I never thought of it like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like everything that we own. Like that's kind of like modern like things. It's like cheaper, like monthly subscriptions. I mean, so many things are going like monthly subscriptions,
Yeah.
and like less and less like one-off and buys.
Yeah.
There's definitely something to be said about that.
Yeah. I mean,
But yeah, AI.
Daniel, eh?
Go for it. Go for it.
Nah, Daniel Ek, who runs Spotify, he said like people don't want to own music; they want to rent it. You know, and I fundamentally disagree with that. I think like
The
you
good
know,
old records and CDs.
yeah, dude. I remember all the CDs that I bought. I don't remember the songs on my playlist that are suggested. That I save even. So like, I do think I do think, there has been kind of a subculture of people moving away from smartphones, more simple phones. I think we could be in a place where we just get tired of being online and shit, and we want to be, touch grass more. I'm
Yeah,
optimistic
what's
about
that
that.
kind of like in Dubai in general?
Look, Dubai is a brutal climate, right? For 8 months, maybe 7 months of the year, it's hot, like insane hot, desert hot. So what they've been able to do with the city is in 50 years is unbelievable, right? Um, but you're in a desert, so it's not like Cape Town where there's a beach down the road or mountains when you open your window. It's just that geographically it's a different place. So here, I think a lot of people miss nature, miss the natural element, and everywhere there has their things, got their positives.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've even heard of in Dubai, like people having keys in their like wrists and stuff. I don't know if you've
What?
heard of that. Like
Look,
keyless cars and like digital, like putting
no,
like
dude,
microchips in their bodies, like opening
no,
their
dude.
house and stuff.
I've never heard of that. I think like people talk a lot about Dubai. You know, there's a lot of like speculation, and here's the thing: I wasn't that excited about Dubai because of everything I'd heard about it. Superficial, super luxury, parties, and like I'd lived all of that already. I'd been to the clubs, the parties, the whole thing. There was nothing of interest in that aspect. But when we spend time here, the people that we met, the friends that we made were incredible. And I think like that's the secret in Dubai is that it's actually really lit. you know, People don't talk about that.
Yeah, you gotta find your tribe, right?
You'll
And I
find
think
your
that's
tribe.
even the thing is like sometimes your tribe is in a different country, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, yeah.
And I mean, now in the modern world, like that's not as far as it used to be. But I think so many people like feel like they don't like relate to people around them, or
Yeah.
they don't know where their like people are. But it's definitely a lifelong journey of like following that curiosity and like, where you go, you'll find your people.
Do you think people are finding it harder to socialize these days?
I guess it's a different type of socialization happening. Like even I think people are more and more okay with like long distance, or like they're not seeing their friends as often, but they're texting them more than ever. And it's
Yeah.
like it ticks the box, but like
Yeah.
is the goal to tick the box, or is like is that really ticking the box, or it's like this superficial stuff that's like, oh,
Yeah.
I talk to my friend every day. I have thousands of friends on Facebook or Instagram. Oh,
Yeah.
I talk to these many people, but like, yeah, how many people do we spend time with in real life? And
Yeah,
even
that's
kind of what I'm saying with
interesting.
the podcast, like,
Yeah.
I honestly suggest like everyone should start a podcast. And when I say podcast, just start a conversation, but you
Yeah.
don't even have to record it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So just
Yeah.
like have more intentional conversations. And I think that's cool.
That's real. Yeah. Intentional conversations, bro. I like that. Cause like I don't know if you get the same feeling, but is it like a bit of a drag if someone says, "Yo, going out," or like, "Hey, come to this event," or like, do you feel like, oh, or you're like, "Oh yeah, cool, I'm excited."
It depends. I went to a really good like comedian on I think it was even Monday night. That was really good. It was like this Irish comedian here in Cape Town. It
Mm,
was super busy, but like that was really cool.
yeah.
Um yeah, what are your kind of favorite things to do, or
I mean, honestly, we get invited to a lot of events, and we do go out quite a bit. So
how do you
like,
filter between the events?
you do
Intuition.
get exhaustion, and like social battery is a real thing, you know. And uh, yeah, sometimes I struggle with it because, bro, the only thing I want to do is be in studio. That's the
And
only
create,
thing
yeah.
I
And it's
really
like
care
hard
about.
to create when there's so many other people, energies.
Yeah. or like you gotta go, you gotta politic, you gotta network, and like we're blessed that we're invited to these things, but it's
Takes
it
energy.
yeah, it is energy, man, and it can take quite a bit. Um, and what's the dating scene in Cape Town at the moment? Is it like, because in Dubai it's a mess, bro. It's a hot
I think it's a
mess.
worldwide thing here,
Oh,
bro.
really?
You know, I mean that Irish comedian, she said Tinder is kind of like McDonald's. You know,
That was rotten.
you know what you're getting.
Oh man.
But there is something to be said about that. It's like even just dating apps in general. Like if people meet on dating apps, they're like what's it, like 15% more likely to like break up than if they met like in a different way. But it's just like, oh, like we have all these options is kind of what we're being told, and it's like hundreds of matches, and it's like I don't know. There's so many weird like things with that. It's like back in the day, you would meet like whatever 20 like really attractive partners over a life. Now it's like here's 100 in a second, and it's
Yeah.
like
Good
that's not
luck.
real.
Yeah.
And then it's like everyone's kind of chasing the same people, and I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
I think like you said, so many options, right? And I think
mm,
psychologically, because I know when I got married, there's that little door in your mind when you're dating where you're like, look, if they piss me off, I can just leave, right?
mm.
But in marriage, that door closes. That option's not there anymore, and like you have to figure it out together.
How do you see marriage? Because I mean, that's even a good question. Do you think everyone sees marriage like that?
No, look, I'm sure people see marriage in a million different ways. Um, I think marriage can be an opportunity for people to build a life together, right? And like support each other. And that's so powerful. That can be so, so powerful. But a lot of people are not there for that. A lot of people are just wanting comfort. A lot of people are trying to mend loneliness. And I think it's very dangerous if you ever put yourself in a place where somebody else is going to make you happy. I think marriage is a terrible reason to do that. I think like you said, intentional conversations. If you are intentional about your life that you want to live and build with somebody, I think marriage can support that. And if you're just trying to fill a gap, a void emotionally, then you need to do your own emotional work. Marriage is not gonna help that. It's not good. You know. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting place. The dating. I just look at my friends here, and like Dubai, like everybody's hot in Dubai. Like it's so commitment is a foreign language here, bro. Like people are
But I mean,
having.
there's also probably quite a bit of like people coming in, coming out
Oh
kind of
man,
thing,
yeah. It's a lot like Cape Town in that way. People are here for a little
which is
bit.
just any place where people are traveling. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
even Bali comes to mind for me. Like, I
yeah,
spent 2 months there.
yeah,
But even then, it's like, oh, we're dating, but like, I'm leaving then.
yeah.
It's like,
Exactly. But Dubai's a little bit worse because people will stay for like 2 years. So they're like, you'll build a relationship and then have to leave.
hmm.
Um. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just like dating nowadays. It's hard for me to watch, bro.
What a blessing to be married.
Yeah, dude, it's hard to watch, and I'm so grateful because it can be so messy, especially in like the line of work that I do. Whoa, bro, messy.
What's your advice out there to anyone trying to date?
Um, I actually did a video where I was talking about like my experience, kind of, you know, making a mess, being messy, and like, I'm thinking like in the lifestyle, you, you meet a lot of people, you out a lot, meeting a lot of attractive people. I guess it can be a normal life times 10 in a lot of ways, right? especially when it comes to like dating and stuff. So, uh, if you're in that lifestyle, if you're going through a phase, there's not much that can save you, right? Especially if you've got a lot of people, you're getting a lot of attention, if you're getting a lot, if people are feeling you, whoo, you can lose yourself very quickly. All I'd hope is that you have people around you that are grounded, that live a normal life. All I hope is that you be gentle. That's what I said in my videos. Just be gentle because
Mm,
it's hard for everybody, man. Everyone wants companionship, but like we have to protect ourselves. We have to put on a show. We have to play our roles. We have to role play. We have to fulfill others' expectations. And I'm talking specifically about dating and if you just like messing around and shit. I'd say like be gentle because hopefully you can get out
mm,
of it and still have friends, you know, and still have people that you haven't broken, and that be on your psyche. Um, cause
100%.
yeah,
Bro, it actually reminds me,
really,
like, yeah, just even being gentle. Like, I made this video about, like, I think like so many people are addicted to like their phones and like, these algorithms and stuff, but it's almost like being gentle with yourself. And like, for me, it's like, well, what are you actually looking for? Like, I think we're a lot more intelligent than we give ourselves credit for. Like,
yeah,
maybe we're scrolling a lot because we're wanting to learn, or like it
yeah,
is an escape, but it's like looking deeper, like,
yeah,
it's like yeah, even with the dating, like what are we trying, and like why are we trying what we're doing, like why do we do the things that we do? There's
yeah,
always like something deeper, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's just like being the observer and like being gentle, not like why did I do that, da, da, da. It's like
yeah,
maybe there's a reason, and like maybe it's not perfect. It's
yeah,
like, oh, I'm craving connection, so I go on Instagram. That's kind of what it can be like.
yeah,
But it's just observing that, is like, is that actually fulfilling us,
yeah,
or like what else could be better?
yeah. No, you're right, bro. I think we are a lot more intelligent, and even that whole myth of like short attention spans. Somebody debunked that myth scientifically, and they said it's not actually true. And the study that was done wasn't vetted, right? So it became this huge myth that we're getting dumber and our attention spans are shorter, but it wasn't scientifically backed. And they discussed that the reality is A, we have more options, we have more choices. B, content has kind of gotten better. Short form content is better because it's so competitive. And just like with, there's a way to do it. When you write a pop song, there's a way to do it. Every pop song has a similar structure. The first 3 to 10 seconds is the chorus or some kind of hook that you can memorize, and it grabs you. This is what songwriters do. They know this. This is the math that they know. Same with content. You know some of the rules. You need your headline, you need a catchy caption, you need a description, you need the SEO. All of these things are just the math. And like if you do the math right, you get good content. And we're getting a lot of this highly addictive content. If you put MSG in food, it's highly addictive. You know what I'm saying? It's if you put a good hook in your content for the first 3 seconds, it's highly addictive. So like, it's not we're stupid. It's content has just been so optimized. That's
The
what they
way we
say.
do anything is the way we do everything.
Hey, there you go. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, bro. It's been such a pleasure having you. Is there any like other things that I haven't asked that you still want to touch on? Like, I'm not trying to rush or anything.
No, I mean, I think, yeah, I think the the new song. You asked what sound I'm doing. The new song is it's a blend of calypso, which is very Caribbean style of music, and it's got a lot of South African flavor, and bass music, and been working with some dances. And in terms of Tiga, we're launching a new character. So I think it's going to be a really interesting year next year, for us and what we're doing.
Awesome.
So
I
yeah,
think we'll definitely link your song, and then we'll link your Instagram and then the Tigger Instagram in the
that's it.
description. Show some love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm excited for that. Um, Otherwise, man, I'm just glad that we got to chat finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you, bro. This was
Yeah,
really great to connect. Isn't it? It's like so cool how like yeah, this like this whole like word podcast just like makes it like
yeah,
like it's without that like I
yeah,
mean, but whatever. But it's
yeah.
just awesome to connect, you know. But it's
So
like, why do we not do this more without all that, you know? But
yeah,
it's also so cool to do it with that, you know.
yeah. 100%, man. I think it's good because like podcast is still invitational, and it's another point.
Mm.
Like, if we have such short attention spans, why are podcasts one of the biggest formats? Why is live streaming for 3+ hours one of the biggest things? You know what I'm saying?
I do think more musicians should like live stream. I don't know their shows, but that's also the thing. Like the live for musicians is often like in person, and they kind of want to
Yeah.
keep it that way, I guess.
No, I don't. I don't think
But I
artists
mean,
even
even
think about it.
nowadays, like there's probably so many more like even yeah, well, like even what's it like Travis Scott performing in like Fortnite, I think.
Yeah,
Like these kind of digital
that was
performances, and even
sick.
just like COVID and like at home performances, and like
Yeah, yeah. No, that was sick, man. Um, yeah, I think like it's an exciting time, man. We have a lot of incredible tools, you know, and it's the artist, it's the creative's job to figure out how to make them exciting for people. You know, make the touch points. Um, but yeah, dude, thanks so much. And is
thank
this gonna
you.
be? How does it work? It's gonna be on YouTube and like clips on Instagram, yeah.
Yeah,
Wicked.
cool. Thanks for watching.